Thank you everyone for coming to the logging in for the Who's Who on Your Success Team webinar this evening. If you're, on the East Coast or in the United States. So we're very excited to have you all with us this evening. We will be diving into talking a bit about our advising structure here at Case Western Reserve. Congratulations to everyone who has been admitted and has chosen to join our community. We're very excited to begin the onboarding process this summer and to welcome you all to campus very soon. To start off with some quick introductions, I'll go first. So my name is Doreen Langazal. I am from the Office of Undergraduate Advising Support and have been at Case Western for 6 years now in an advising role. And I will pass it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves. Jen DeSantis, why don't you go next?
Hi, everyone. I am Jen DeSantis. I'm one of our senior associate deans in the office and also one of our 4-year advisors. Possibly your 4-year advisor based on the message that you received today. And I've been at Case Western for 11 years now. I'll turn it over to Peter.
Sorry, just take a breath. Hello, welcome. How are you? My name is Peter Schulman. I am the Associate Provost for Curriculum here. I'm also a faculty member in our Department of History. I have been at Case Western for 16 years now, getting up there. And you'll hear a little bit about some of the things I work on over the course of our discussion this evening. Welcome to you all and looking forward to getting to know you.
All right, so for a quick agenda, quick overview of what we'll be discussing during this webinar. So as I mentioned, we'll be going through kind of the advising structure at Case Western Reserve, identifying some of the advisor roles that you will be working with throughout your time here on campus. We're also going to dive into what to really expect this summer as you're preparing for Case Western Reserve. I know you have access to your roadmap now, what you can expect from that 4-year advisor meeting that you all were introduced to this afternoon. But then we'll also give you a little bit of a preview of what your arrival on campus, those first couple weeks, are going to look like. Along the way, as you have questions popping into your mind, please feel free to use the Q&A feature that you see on your Zoom screen here. Those questions come directly to myself, Peter, and Jen. So we can see those, and we're going to pause between each section and kind of answer those as we go. Then, of course, at the end, if there are any lingering questions, we're happy to circle back and answer those too. So feel free to throw those questions into the Q&A as we go. All right. So kicking things off with advising at CRU. So the first item that I want to kind of go over is our advising partnership model. So here on the screen, you see kind of the left-hand side with the 4-year advisor. So that's the Office of Undergraduate Advising Support. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll also see both a pre-major and a major advisor as well. So I'm going to dive a little bit into what that partnership model entails. So the 4-year advisor, that is a professional staff advisor who works with you throughout your CWRU experience. Jen will go into a little more detail about this, but generally guiding you through policy and process, tracking your progress on degree requirements, providing academic coaching and support, and connecting you with other specialized support on campus as well. On the right-hand side, in partnership with that professional staff member advisor, you also have a faculty advisor. To begin, that will be your pre-major advisor. That's a faculty member who is assigned to you, who will be working with you before you're officially declared. And then after you declare your major, you'll also work with a faculty advisor from the department in which you declare, who's going to give you more nuanced advice, course planning, tracking progress on your major requirements, career advice. And so Dr. Schulman's going to dive more into that in a moment as well. I do see a question here in the Q&A. So the question here is asking for a copy of the presentation here. So this is actually going to be recorded, and we're happy to add that and make sure that gets into your hands as well. I believe through the orientation newsletter, it will be shared. If not, we do have our contact information available as well, and we're happy to share that to individuals at a later point. All right, I don't see further questions, so moving along. So Jen.
Yeah, as Doreen mentioned, I'm going to share a little bit more about the four-year advisor role. I will do a deeper dive into some of the aspects of our meetings and conversation this summer. But to give you a general idea, what are we here for? How can we help you? So we really want to serve as a resource to help you better understand policies, procedures, and requirements behind all academic programs. This includes general education, degree requirements, and foundational major-related coursework. As you can tell from that bullet point, we use a lot of jargon or nuanced language for us who work at the institution. As your four-year advisor, we want to break that down and truly make sure you understand and can apply that to your own experience in getting to know your requirements. We want you to excel academically as a student. That's a big draw to Case Western Reserve. But we also want to ensure that you are having an enriching experience socially too. So we have a lot of opportunities on campus, and we want you to connect. We want you to thrive. I tell my students, I work at institution of higher education because I enjoyed my time. We want to see the same for you as a student at Case Western. So it's kind of vague in some ways. What does that mean even further? So if we were to break that down into some of your experiences and your engagement with your four-year advisor, it changes a little bit as you transition to campus and get to know and develop those relationships on your own. But very much in that first semester and over the summer, it is very much focused on transition, feeling it out, getting to know campus. For some students, that means major and minor exploration. So possibly not decided, considering options. We want to be here to talk through that a little bit more, help you understand your interests, but also requirements related to that interest. It's a big thing for our students, making sure that they're taking courses that help them fulfill those degree requirements. This also relates to understanding your general education requirements. There's layers to your degree at Case Western. We want to support you, but we want you to own that experience. We're going to give you the tools to be able to do that throughout your time with us. Again, there's a lot of administrative procedures. You're transitioning to an entirely new university. That comes with understanding course enrollment, registration. That first time for students can be very exciting, but a lot of questions too associated with that process. We want to alleviate any stress or anxiety around that process to fill in information that you need so that when registration opens, you feel confident with that for that first round of registration and beyond. And then as I mentioned too, you're getting to know our campus. As four-year advisors, we go through a lot of training, conversations, and getting to know our campus and our resources so that as we get to know you, we can help connect you to those resources, those areas of interest that you have on campus. So a lot of that is very foundational. As I mentioned, as you get to know campus, you're going to find those opportunities on your own in many ways, but initially we're here to help support you in those. And then future semesters, you're going to declare your major. You're going to start building those connections within your area of study. We'll still be here in that process and helping you track your progress towards graduation, sending you helpful reminders, emails along the way to make sure that you're progressing in those requirements. There are a lot of administrative procedures that arise throughout your enrollment. So we have students, we won't dive into it today, but off-campus credit, so taking courses elsewhere. What does that look like? What are all of the things that you need to know about that process? So when that time comes, we are here to answer those questions. Studying abroad, we have fantastic colleagues and partners in our education abroad office, but we can help guide you in the initial conversations, help you figure out when it may fit into your experience at Case Western, and then start talking about some of your long-term goals. So you're here, you're getting connected. How does that fit into your plans beyond Case Western Reserve University?
Before advancing to the next slide, there's a couple questions that I think might be helpful to answer now. A couple others that we already know we're going to address in a couple minutes. But Jen, can you talk a little bit about will students get to select their classes with advisors support prior to arrival on campus?
Absolutely. That is really the key for your first conversation with your four-year advisor. They will spend time getting to know you, but also talk you through developing your first semester schedule. In that conversation with their four-year advisor, I know students were asking a little bit about incoming credit, AP scores. They will talk to you about that incoming credit, the AP scores, and what that means for you for course enrollment and placement. So they will work with you to select typically anywhere from the first 4 to 6 courses that you'll take at Case Western. They will also send you a very detailed summary email so that you have it in writing. What did we talk about, and what are the courses that I'm planning to take on registration day?
All right. There's a couple more questions that I think I'm going to hold until the next portion when, Jen, you talk a little bit more about those meetings in detail, about if you have a major in mind, if you have, required courses for that major. We're going to be addressing some of that, so I'm going to hold on to those in the Q&A. But if you are the submitter for either of those questions, know that we'll be coming back to those in a moment. All right, and I think we will pass it now to Peter to talk about pre-major advising.
Sure. Thank you, Doreen. So as Doreen mentioned a few minutes ago, we have this advising partnership model where you have your four-year advisor who's professional staff. This is their job. They focus on you and your classmates, as Jen described. You also have, when you get here, a pre-major advisor who is a faculty member. What we're going to do is, some of you have started the roadmap process, I think, at this point. There is, as part of that, a survey that's going to ask you about your academic interests. Now, many of you, I assume most of you, if not all of you, put down some potential academic interest on your applications when you filled them out. Now, last fall, it's probably been some time. That gave you a chance to put down 2 areas of interest. The survey is going to give you the opportunity to revisit that. What are you interested in now? It might be exactly the same things. Might have changed a little bit, might have shifted. You might have gone from chemistry to biochemistry. Maybe you've gone from biomedical engineering to mechanical engineering, or maybe a more radical change. Wherever you are now, we're just curious. We want to know. And we'll also give you the chance to put down 3 additional academic areas of interest. These might be areas that are potential majors. Maybe it's your 3rd choice major. Maybe you just have a bunch of major options and more than 2, and you're going to put some of them there. Maybe those are areas you might want to minor in. Maybe you just think it's an interesting subject that you want to take a class in and see where it goes. No pressure. You don't need a credential for everything. We're just curious what you're interested in. What we're going to do, what my office is going to do, is then look at all of your interests and match you up with faculty in one of those areas that you have indicated interest in. We should be able to do this pretty well. It worked pretty well last year when we ran this project for the first time. So please fill out all 5 of the choices. It helps us make those matches. And so we have faculty from across the university, from the College of Arts and Sciences, from the Case School of Engineering, from the Weatherhead School of Management. If those of you are looking at the nursing program, from the Francis Payne Bolton School of Nursing, pre-major advisors from those different areas, from different departments, different programs, different disciplines, and we're going to match you up. And this will be your first immediate connection to a professor here at Case Western Reserve. Some of you may have come from environments where you're familiar with professors. You've known professors before. Many of you may not have ever had a chance to talk to an actual professor. We're really not that scary, but many of you may have not had that opportunity yet. This is a chance to know a faculty member from nearly the moment you step onto campus, and have someone you can reach out to who will get to know your interests, your possible academic paths to come over the next few years, possible career trajectories that you're interested in and are considering, and provide you with someone who is someone who's used to being in the classroom, who's used to working with students, who teaches, who researches, who can provide you with that connection with a shared academic interest. Your pre-major advisor, your faculty advisor, will be a partner with your four-year advisor, whoever your four-year advisor is. There's some things that you're going to want to go right to your four-year advisor about. Other things you may want to reach out to your pre-major advisor first. There are some issues where we're going to collaborate. We're going to work together. You may reach out to your four-year advisor and they'll get in touch with your pre-major advisor, or vice versa, to make sure we get you the best support and guidance and information as we can, which is to say, we will get it to you. I think the useful thing to keep in mind is, as Doreen said, it's a very complicated, big university, like any modern major research university is. A lot of offices that do lots of different things. You may have needs that you can't even articulate now that may come up at some point in the future and not know where to go. Go to one of us. Go to your four-year advisor. If it feels appropriate, go to your pre-major advisor. We will make sure you get connected with the person who can address your issue if it isn't one of us. And sometimes, in many cases, it will be one of us. But if not, we'll get you to the people you need to talk with. So, for example, we had a question here about getting connected with student work opportunities on campus, right? So that's something where you may want to bring that up. If you're interested in working on campus, maybe this is part of a financial aid package, as part of a federal funded financial aid. Maybe it's something you just want to do as part of your experience here. Mention that to your four-year advisor, because they'll be able to connect you with an office. We have an office that deals with that sort of thing, and it will connect you with the opportunities, the list of available positions. But also tell your pre-major advisor, because they may know something. They may have availability in a lab, or have a colleague who does. Depends on the circumstance. Depends on what you're interested in doing. But tell your advisors, and they will help connect you with where those opportunities are. So once you come to campus, you will meet with your pre-major advisor during Discover Week. That's our orientation week, on the last day, on Friday. And your pre-major advisor will go over your tentative course schedule with you that you've worked out already. You've already, major course selections, you've already worked with your four-year advisor, but we'll go over it again, make sure that everything makes sense, given your current situation. Get to know your academic interests, your career interests, address any questions you might have, and really begin to develop this relationship with you. You will meet again at least one more time, possibly more than one more time, about the middle of the semester to check in with how things are going, how your midterm exams or projects or papers have gone, and talk about what your plans are for the next semester. Some of you at this point may be ready come mid-October. I'm ready to go. I know what I want to major in. I'm ready to declare come November 1st. There was a question about when you can declare your major if you're already sure. That would be for those of you who matriculate, who come to us in August. November 1st will be the earliest date you can declare your major. So if you're ready to go, great. And it'll be pretty straightforward to figure out what classes you want to take. There may be some of you, many of you, who are not yet ready to declare just yet and are still considering between a couple of options. You'll talk with your pre-major advisor about making a good strategic choice of what classes you want to take to help decide what paths you want to take. And you'll have more time into the spring before you have to declare a major. Your pre-major advisor will also work with you to develop any kinds of strategies or approaches if you encounter difficulties. Some of you may hit the ground running and you have strong high school background, and feel the courses you're taking are right where you need to be. Others of you may unexpectedly encounter challenges. That's normal. I certainly did when I went to college. Some things came easily. Some things were a lot harder than I expected. Your pre-major advisor, working with your four-year advisor, will be people to help connect you with any resources that might be helpful, whether it's additional tutoring or guidance on strategies for studying, for taking care of your own health. You can't learn well unless you're keeping yourself healthy, and really be a resource to you. And as I put here on the chart, cheer on your achievements as well, because you're going to thrive in addition to any challenges you might have. in future semesters, you'll keep meeting with your pre-major advisor into the spring semester and at the beginning of the semester, later on in the semester, and you'll have to declare your major, a major, by the end of March, by March 31st. Now, I want to be really clear right now. We have lots of good reasons for wanting you to declare a major by the end of March. You're not locked in. If you declare a biology major at the end of March and then realize the next day, I actually need to be a chemistry major, not a biology major, no problem. It's just a form you fill out. Not a big deal. We're happy to facilitate that change. You can add a major, you can change majors, you can add minors. We just want to make sure that you have a connection to the next part of this this process, which is a major advisor. Once you've declared your major, you will get assigned an advisor in your major. This will almost always be a faculty member again, and they will continue to be the experts in that particular discipline, whether it's in accountancy or nursing or history, whatever the field you end up choosing to major in, you'll have a faculty member in that area who will be your major advisor. Someone had asked, if you declare a second major, do you get another second major advisor? Yes, you do. If you declare a minor, you will get a minor advisor. You can keep collecting advisors as much as you think would be helpful to you. As many majors as you want to declare. And if you're interested in the complexities and nuances of declaring majors, I'm happy to talk with you about that as well, pursuing. There are lots of different ways you can do that. Do know you only need one major to graduate. So if there are two areas you're really interested in studying, great. If there are two areas that fit with your future career goals, adding them together where it makes sense, great. Don't feel any pressure to do it for any abstract reason. If it makes sense for you, wonderful. You only need one major, so don't feel any pressure. Most of our students only take one major. So yeah, your major advisor will give you that discipline-specific guidance. These are faculty who are familiar with career trajectories in a particular field, summer opportunities, and will have a really fine-grained, detailed knowledge of the curriculum of that particular program and help guide you. Some of our majors have concentrations or tracks you want to take that may require making choices in one semester to set you up for particular end goals in a later semester. And so that your major advisor will know the discipline and will know the curriculum in a way to help you make those choices in the best possible way.
A couple questions.
Yeah, questions. Let's get some questions.
The one that I was going to pull out first was how assignment of major advisors works. Do you get to choose? Is it assigned based off of something else?
Great question. So we have a kind of federal state at Case Western Reserve University, and that departments have a lot of flexibility in how they make their major assignments. So basically the process is every major, every minor, has what we call an academic representative. And there's a website that the Undergraduate Advising Support Office maintains that will list all the academic representatives from each program. When you are ready to declare a major or a minor, you'll look up the name of the usually faculty member who's the academic representative. You'll reach out to them. You will usually meet with them, they'll fill out a form, and they'll find out what your interests are, what you are looking to do in the program, what your background is. And then every department assigns the major advisor slightly differently. There are some departments where everybody who declares a major in a particular year gets the same major advisor, and they kind of move in cohorts, and different faculty in the department take turns being major advisors in that program. There are other departments, other programs where there's just one person, usually the academic representative, who takes on all of the major advising. That's just a part of their responsibilities. There are other departments like my own, where we find out what your interests are, what courses you've taken, what faculty members you've connected with, and if they have availability, we match you up with faculty whose particular interests most align with your own. It really just depends on the department, and there's just a lot of variety there.
Okay. Could you answer this question about nursing specifically?
Yeah.
So how they will find out who their nursing advisor is, specifically within the faculty department side?
Yeah, so nursing usually will have 3 different faculty members serving as at your cohort's pre-major advisors, and they will. So you'll know them. You'll know who they are. They may actually, that the program may tell you a little earlier, but you'll certainly find out by the time of Discover Week, and you'll meet with them. Their program runs very smoothly. They know what they're doing. They've been doing this for a very long time. So you will have an advisor in the nursing program from every nursing student will have an advisor in the nursing program, pre-major advisor that will segue into your major advising once you formally declare. So you're going to come in effectively as a nursing major. You don't technically declare the major until November, right? That's still the case for them as well. But you're already kind of in the world of the nursing program, and so they'll make sure you always have nursing guidance.
Yeah, sorry, I nodded, but I take it back. Nursing does come in declared
They come to
right at
okay,
the
right.
start. Yes, yep.
Okay, that's one of the 2 exceptions.
Yes, I
Yeah,
take back
fine.
my nod. Go ahead.
I was going to say the program you might think is our students who are doing like music education. They're not declared, but they very much act as though they are, and sometimes get a little bit of flexibility with that November 1st.
Yeah. So and if you're looking to do a music major, your music pre-major advice, the department will set who they want. They will identify. They know who you are, and they will tell us who they want to assign as your pre-major advisor. That may still be your major advisor once you declare come November. It may be different if they think that's a better fit for you, but they'll work that out.
There's an interesting question here of, can a pre-major and a major advisor, are they typically the same person? Can they be the same person?
Yeah, great question. So they can be. I actually had 6 pre-major advisees of my own this past academic year. For various reasons, they actually had pretty broad academic interests. One of them wanted to major in history and said, "Would you keep being my history major advisor?" And I said, "Of course." So we just continued on that way. My other students who declared other majors, political science, things like that, they got major advisors in their programs. It again really depends on the department on how they structure it. So you may, it depends on how the department does it.
And I'll pepper you with one last question before we move on to the next kind of section, is how often should students expect to meet with their pre-major, major advisors?
Yeah, so this is the structure we have now is you meet at the end of Discover Week on that Friday, and you have to meet again midway through the semester. There'll be a window of a couple of weeks that is basically after you've probably taken your midterms or gotten your midterm grades, but before you have to register for the spring semester. So in that window, you'll meet again for sure. You'll meet again the very beginning of the spring semester. And if you haven't yet declared your major, meet one more time about midway through the spring semester. So a minimum of 4 if you declare kind of later. If you've already declared your major in November or December or January, you won't do the later meetings with your pre-major advisor because you already have a major advisor at that point, and we'll continue those conversations with them. Now, you may find that it would be helpful to you to meet more frequently. This could be questions answered by email. It could be Zooms. It could be in person. It depends on whatever the appropriate way to address your needs are. I had some of my pre-major advisees whom I only saw those set times because I would reach out and they're like, things are going fine. Other students who said, I actually have a lot of questions I need some more guidance on. Can we come meet and talk more? Of course. So some students I met with more frequently, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional times, depending on what the student needs were. And once you have a major advisor, the minimum, I would love to have it be more than this. The minimum is you meet with them once a semester because they have to release an advising hold so you can register for courses for the next semester. It's really just a way we use it to make sure that you do meet with an advisor. So I would encourage you to meet with your advisors at least once a semester. Now, your advisors may end up being a faculty member that you see 2 or 3 times a week already. They might be your lab director that you see, several times a week. So you may get lots of mentorship and guidance in other contexts from the formal required meetings.
And then Jen, just from the 4-year advisor side, how frequently? are those meetings typically?
It completely depends. So it is up to the student and their engagement. To kind of Peter's point, I, at least for me, like to see my students once a semester to check in, see how things are going, review, degree requirements, and just have that overall conversation. But for some of my students, we meet weekly or bi-weekly. It is dependent on the student and what they're looking for in that engagement. But we have fairly regular and open availability in the office.
Great.
Can I just answer a few
yeah.
of them on here also, as long as we're talking? So I'm probably going to miss some, but we'll come back to them for sure.
Yeah.
Which advisor is going to help with pre-professional advising? Excellent question. And there's someone else that asked a question about do you have a pre-med advisor? So there is, we actually have staff who are in an office right next to where Jen and Doreen are, that is part of the Career Center that focuses on pre-professional advising, whether it's pre-law, pre-medicine, pre-other health professions. And those are, maybe you can kind of speak to this, more carefully. They'll know who you are. Like once you identify yourself as being, I'm interested in the pre-med track, I'm interested in pre-dentistry, physical therapy, veterinary school, or law, or whatever the profession might be, they will open up programs, plans, pathways, webinars, supports, all sorts of things to facilitate your path to be prepared for applying to those programs when it's time.
I think similarly, there was a question here about co-op, finding research, things like that, that kind of expert advising as well. There are, like I said, experts on campus who will be able to give that deep dive support in those areas, but starting with either your four-year advisor, I would say, is a frequent route for students to kind of talk about their interests, find out, is that a co-op, is that a practicum, is that something, a student organization on campus, to help kind of diagnose then the direction to go in and who that specific advisor will be, is frequently then the route there, to kind of build your personal, individualized success team, if you will.
There are two questions here. I don't know if they're actually from the same person, but they're very similar and next to each other about, is it possible to change from an engineering major to an arts major? Absolutely, no problem. And the other question, possibly related, possible to change from engineering major to arts, vice versa, which is, I think, an important way to kind of add to that. So you're not locked in. You can change your major at any time. You can be deep into a major and decide that it is really not right for you and you want to switch to something else. You want to talk to your advisors about what really makes sense in your particular situation. It will not surprise you to know that it is easier to switch to a different major program earlier on in your time here rather than later. If you are 3.5 years into an engineering major, it may be difficult to switch to a different major and be able to graduate in 8 semesters. Most students don't wait that long if they've realized that they want to do something different. But regardless of what you put on your application, regardless of how you answer the survey, regardless of what you declare sometime in the next year, you can always switch to something else. And yes, you can switch from arts to engineering. It is less common, but it certainly happens. Actually, one of my 6 pre-major advisees had come in. The reason why my office matched her with me is she had indicated an interest in pre-law, history, kind of general humanistic sorts of things. And within a couple of months, she's like, I really want to do engineering. Okay. And she did, and she's thriving. She's doing great. It was not at all too late. She hadn't yet declared it. She ended up declaring one of the engineering majors, and she's very happy doing that. So you can absolutely make those choices. We have a general education structure now that is you relatively new. It rolled out for the first time for students last academic year. That in a way makes it a little easier to switch from one area to another. The structure makes it a little easier because used to be more complicated because different schools, different programs had different general education requirements. Now it's a little easier to move from one area to another. but definitely talk to your advisors about best path forward. Sometimes it's easy to just add another major. Sometimes you can pick up another minor. Sometimes you wind up getting a minor without even realizing it. I've had plenty of students who realize late in their senior year, oh, I just took a bunch of classes I liked, and it turns out that's a minor. So they can pick that up. Why not?
All right. The questions popping in seem to be very eager to go into registration and courses and all of that good stuff. So we'll transition to kind of preparing what you can expect this summer. And the big thing there is course registration. So I first have to put in a plug. If you haven't already, it is time to set up your Case Western Reserve email account. There was a orientation newsletter in your inboxes maybe a week or two ago that had instructions on how to set up that email account. The orientation newsletter comes out every Thursday evenings. It has very important reminders for those upcoming deadlines on your roadmap, helpful tips to get you prepared for CRU, like setting up your email account, and even videos and advice from current students, many of whom are incoming or are orientation leaders for this incoming fall as well. So plug to set up that email and make sure you're reading that weekly newsletter to be really ready for this fall ahead. We really consider orientation to be a multi-month process, not just that week between move-in and classes starting. Related to that, so your roadmap, that is your online portal that you'll be using to really track and to complete and track all of those pre-arrival items. So that includes scheduling a meeting with your four-year advisor, which Jen is going to dive into a little bit more detail in a moment. That's also where you will apply for housing. So letting us know that you do intend to live on campus and, select a meal plan, as well as room selection. It's a two-part process. So room selection will be from your roadmap. That's also where you fill out your letter to your advising team. So we've got a little bit more detail about that coming up in a moment, but that provides us with a lot of helpful information. In addition, if you have the math placement on your roadmap, not everybody does, but if it's on your roadmap, that's a required item. And then all students also need to complete an exercise called Selecting Your First Year Writing Seminar, as that will be important for identifying which of the seminar options are the best fit for you and your learning. There's a couple of other educational modules on them as well, on the roadmap as well. And so all of the items on there are good to kind of keep on top of. Don't let them build up, because we really want to make it a smooth process and onboarding for the fall semester. And so with that, Jen's going to talk a little bit about that item on the roadmap that just launched, the four-year advisor meeting.
Yes, before I do, there was one question in the chat about email addresses, and just want to make sure that I share that with everyone. So you have your network ID email, which I typically call the ABC123 or 1234 at case.edu, and also the first.last or first.middle initial .last. They're the same. One is kind of the standard email, and then the other, the full name email, is what we call the alias, but it's the same email address. But when you're logging into that, you will use the ABC123 to get into and access that email. All right, so for the four-year advisor meeting, as I mentioned, hello, you received your introduction email from your four-year advisor earlier today. So that's really our kickoff to begin our summer meetings. So these summer meetings occur pretty much between tomorrow and July 12th. This is in preparation for your first semester course enrollment. I will talk more about when course enrollment is, all the steps that you need to take, but know that this window is designed to prepare you for that time frame in registering for classes. Some key items that really help us prepare for those meetings, but also I think are helpful for you to reflect on for that conversation with the four-year advisor, is that information for the advisor. It asks you about your majors of interest. Peter talked about, academic interest areas, It also allows you to choose career interest areas. So for those students who are asking about some of our pre-professional advisors, we share this information with them. So they will get you on distribution lists for the various areas of interest that you will have so that you get the communications that you need. It also asks you about transition to campus so that you can share, your comfort level with time management, talking to professors, engaging with other students, again, helping prep for your initial conversation. It gives you the opportunity to tell a little bit about yourself. So one of the questions that I saw, how much should I write in my information for the advisor? I'll give the standard as much as you need to response. But you do not have to write novels about this, just enough to get a sense, because know that it will be covered in your conversation with the four-year advisor and also with your pre-major advisor when you get to campus. Again, the math placement is also very helpful. It sets the foundation for the conversation about math in your first semester. The math placement exam is not something that allows you to take beyond certain levels of calculus. The math placement exam is really a this or that proposition. So you either take the exam and you score well enough to take a Calculus 1 course, or we think that you could benefit from taking a little bit of a pre-calculus to ensure success in Calculus 1. But with the math placement, you cannot advance beyond the Calculus 1 level. And then during your meeting with your four-year advisor, we want to get to know you. We want to get to know your goals for your first semester and beyond, and what you're excited about, what maybe you're nervous about. This allows us to share with you opportunities on campus that we think you may be interested in, and also share any resources that you could benefit from in your transition. We'll talk about possible majors, possible minors. I know a student asked, can I have multiple minors? Yes, in the same way that you can have multiple majors. But as Peter said, you only need one major and not minors, but you have varied interests and we appreciate that. And you have those opportunities on campus. We'll spend time hearing from you about incoming credit that you have. So AP scores, IB, any incoming transfer credit that you could have from high school, or what we call kind of a pre-matriculation. We want to know everything that could impact your first semester schedule and cover that in our conversation. Because by the end of that meeting, we are going to have individualized guidance for you for your first semester schedule. So in that meeting, we do not actually build your schedule with you. You will register in our student information system during the registration window, but we will give you all of the information and tools to go ahead and do that registration independently.
I want to pause here because there's a couple math placement questions coming in.
Yep.
So if it does not appear on the roadmap, what does that mean?
Means you're all set. So students are exempt from the math placement. There's a variety of criteria that we use to exempt students from the math placement. It's a 740 SAT or higher, 32 or higher on the ACT, a 3 or higher on the AB or BC calculus exams, and a 5 on the HLIB exam. So if you are a student, when I said those, who has the math placement and is thinking, I have those scores, it's quite possible that we simply don't have those scores. And that is why the math placement exam appears for you. You can work with your four-year advisor on that conversation if you feel you should have been exempt from the math placement. Otherwise, if you don't see it, it means you met one of those criteria.
And what score on the math placement does a student need to get to be eligible for calculus?
Yes, the math placement exam is out of 50 questions. It's an hour-long exam that is in Canvas. You have to score a 30 or higher to be eligible for Calculus 1. I will note for students right now, you may start to receive invitations for a pre-calculus course this summer. That invitation does go out to students that also score 32 or lower, but the threshold for taking Calculus 1 is that 30 or higher.
And just know that our math department has really studied this. They've done lots of experimentation, lots of analysis, data analysis to track what student scores predict success in calculus. So when you get the if you were to get the recommendation take the Math 120 pre-calculus course before you take calculus, that's really based on lots of historical data of what's going to be most likely for students to succeed when it is time for them to take calculus. Now, if you're entering a major, likely major that is going to require calculus or several semesters of successively progressing calculus, that's okay. You can still do the pre-calculus course in your first semester and still be on track to graduate in 8 semesters. So the point is to make sure that you are prepared once you get to calculus to succeed in the class.
Yeah. And to all of the points Peter mentioned, this is one of the reasons that it's really important if you have the math placement exam to take it prior to the meeting with your four-year advisor. So all of that can be incorporated in the conversation so that we know that you have that successful transition. I did have a student who had those concerns and just graduated this semester in material science and was able to do that with some adjustments in their schedule in the 4 years.
There's a couple more questions coming in about math.
Let's do it.
All right. So if you can explain about AP Calc, sorry, I advanced too far on the slides. There we go. So if some students are taking AP Calc exams, how do those fit in with kind of the math placement, especially if they're still waiting for their AP scores that come out in that early July timeframe?
So those of you in that situation just took it a few weeks ago. So congratulations. That's a lot. We know.
Yes. So we do get those scores as long as you indicated that you were sending them to Case Western in that early July timeframe. When you have those scores, you can work with your four-year advisor. We have a process in place that with the verified scores and received, you should be able to enroll without any concerns. Let's say maybe we don't have those scores right away. You can work with your four-year advisor to allow the necessary permissions for enrollment so that you're set for course registration.
Okay. And if a student doesn't end up receiving that 5 on the AP exam, what other options do they have available to them in order to advance in math?
So breaking down that question, with the math placement, it really is related to the math placement score. There is the opportunity to retake the math placement exam during Discover Week. If there are students related to that score that we're hoping for incoming credit with calculus based upon that AP score and truly believe that they have the foundation to move beyond Calculus 1 into, say, Calculus 2 or beyond, we also have what we call proficiency exams. Those proficiency exams also take place during Discover Week. Students will get a lot more information. So you're receiving your orientation newsletter. I can't say enough about reading your orientation newsletter because all of that information is going to be in there. If you are considering any of those that I've mentioned, the math placement retake if you've already taken it, or proficiency exams, please do share that with the four-year advisor because that's going to be something that they're going to want to talk through is the consideration of taking those exams and also what that could mean for your course enrollment.
Yeah, so somebody had asked about, is there a placement exam for other subjects as well aside from math? So not exactly, but there are these proficiency exams. So maybe you've done physics, mechanics in high school, whatever the circumstances are, and you want to be able to show that you have, you should be able to get credit for that and move on to electricity and magnetism. There will be a proficiency exam available for that and other subjects like that.
And should a student send all their AP scores, even if they're not sure or are worried that they might not have scored well?
Yes, I would say it doesn't hurt. And for students to, we say send your scores, even if you don't know if you're going to use the credit that you could receive from those AP scores, it doesn't hurt to have them here at Case Western.
Someone had asked, and maybe this was answered by text or something, but it was a question about the writing evaluation. So you cannot place out of your academic inquiry seminar, which you'll take either in the fall or the spring of your first year. The writing I want to call it an exam, but it's not an exam. Evaluation. Evaluation, is that a fair term? There's a term for it.
I think they call it the writing sample or
Writing
this
sample.
directed self-placement.
I
Yes.
call it the writing exercise.
We all call it something different. So that is not about placing you out of it. It's really to help you and us kind of figure out what's the right choice for you that you will make. So actually, we can talk about this now really quickly. You'll take an introductory writing course in your first year, either the fall, about half of you will take in the fall, half of you in the spring. That's called an academic inquiry seminar. And these are courses that have fewer than 20 students. You'll work with a faculty member. And there are a couple of different flavors of course. Most students will take a topical academic inquiry seminar. It will cover they all cover the same kinds of general writing, communication, instruction, but they'll have different themes, different topics that are based on the interests and the expertise of the instructors, and try to match you with ones that are interesting to you that fit into your schedules. Some of you may say, that sounds great, but I think given my background, I'd like a little more foundational writing instruction. I feel like I would like to really make sure I know them, better learn the mechanics of writing. We have the foundation option, which is another flavor that you will choose. We won't place you in that. You will choose if you think that would be helpful and appropriate for you. For those of you who are not native speakers of English, we have an ESL, English as a Second Language flavor of the academic inquiry seminar. And again, self-placement, if you're not a native speaker of English, but you feel like your English is proficient enough to move on to a topical seminar, no problem. You can take a topical academic inquiry seminar. But that option is available for those of you who think that would be a good fit. And for those of you who really want a stronger introduction to academic English before you take a seminar like that, we have an option for that will lead into the academic inquiry seminar that you would take in the spring semester. We're actually going to have a fourth class, kind of experimental class that we're offering that will be available when you're selecting among the topical options. It's 4 credits instead of 3, and it involves community engagement. And it's an experiment, a pilot program to kind of see how it works. So some of you may find that in when you choose your options. Oh, there are more questions.
Right. There are loads in there.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, in the interest of time, though,
yep.
Because we do have a couple more things to get through, and many of them, I'll put in a plug, are actually going to be covered in even more detail about AP exam for physics. I see about nursing requirements. I see about how seminars are assigned. All of these questions, I see them in here. Will be answered. We've got 3 sessions of the exact same Registration 101 webinar that will spend a full hour just about course registration. And I want to make sure we leave enough time for talking what's going to happen when you actually get to campus as well. So I'm sorry, shameless plug there for our future webinars. Jen, I know you have a couple items on this slide as well that you wanted to cover too.
Yeah, it's really the big hitting item of when is course registration. So course registration is Tuesday, July 16th opens at 9 a.m. Eastern, and it runs through Thursday, July 18th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So it is a window for registration for students. To help guide you, there's that meeting with your 4-year advisor. And then I encourage you to grab this QR code here and go to our first year course selection guide. A lot of the questions that I'm seeing too can be answered through that website, talking about majors of interest, talking about AP scores, all of that's going to be there. Your 4-year advisor will take you through that resource. And then as Doreen mentioned, we do have full hour-long webinars that just talk about everything registration related. We know that's the big hitting topic for a lot of students over the summer, a lot of questions. So we have those sessions. And then because it is a registration window, the 4-year advisor does do a review of the schedule for students. So I saw questions about courses that are critical to a major that could be closed. 4-year advisors work with students on that. So we don't hold seats for students. However, if it is major critical, we work to get seats for students that need to take that course in their first semester. So know that even if your schedule isn't 100% how you want it during that registration window, we have time. we work through at that time period until when you arrive on campus, and you can make some of those changes when you get here and have access again. And that's also one of the reasons it's really important when you meet with your pre-major advisor, if you're considering those changes, that's a part of that conversation to talk about what those changes could be and why.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your arrival on campus. Okay. Jen, I think I stole your thunder there. I think this is still
Oh, no, you're fine. Yep. Discover Week. I think we mentioned this. Discover Week is what we call our orientation week on campus. It is a week long. It is mandatory, and it's for our new and transfer students. And it takes place the week before the fall semester. It is really the opportunity for you, before you dive in and get to know your courses on campus, to get to know campus, to build your community. So build your community in the residence hall, get to know your classmates. I look at it as having fun and making connections and really starting off your experience strong. There are going to be sessions that are geared to help you understand support on campus, resources, opportunities. And then there's simply going to be engagement sessions and open time where you can choose your own adventure based upon what's available. As we've mentioned, I think multiple times, that's when you'll start developing relationships with your pre-major advisor and have those meetings. You'll get introduced to additional members of your kind of resources on campus. So if you're living on campus, that would be your resident advisor or assistant, what we call the RA, and then your orientation leader, which most people will call the OL. So starting to introduce you to all of those phrases that we learn on campus now.
All right. So as part of the Discover Week, like I mentioned, where'd we go?
Sorry.
Not a problem. On Friday, you will meet with your pre-major advisor. A few days before your meeting, you'll get an email to your case email with details, who your advisor is, where you're going to meet, what time. You may be meeting individually. You may be meeting in a small group. It depends on the program. It depends on the circumstances and the advisor, but you'll get that information. We have it in bold here. Don't worry about preparing for this meeting. This is just a chance for you to be yourself. Feel free to bring questions. Feel free to bring concerns. Your pre-major advisor is really just here, your faculty advisor, to start to get to know you, get to know your interests, review your plans for the semester, maybe make connections for things you might want to continue to look into, opportunities in their department, if that's something that is part of the match. If you're interested in history and you're matched with the history professor, we can kind of connect you with resources, and that will work regardless of what program your faculty member, your pre-major advisor is in. So describe your interests, describe your plans, your ideas, what you're considering, choices. You'll go over your course schedule, ask your questions. I've had pre-major advisees who come in and say they have no questions. They're here, they're coasting along. Things are going great. Other students who have lots of questions. And so please ask all the questions. If your pre-major advisor can't answer every last one of them, they will put you in touch with someone or find out the answer for you. That's on Friday. You have a weekend. Start classes on Monday. But you're mute during. I think you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So first day of classes.
Right. So we've talked about the two main kinds of advisors you have formally. These will show up when you come to campus and you start to log into our information systems, SIS, Stellic. You'll get to know these things once you get here. You'll have your four-year advisor. You'll have your pre-major advisor. When you declare your major, you'll have a major advisor. But I really want to encourage all of you to think broadly about the mentorship that you have, that you can have, that's going to be available to you here. You don't just need to go to the people who are your formal advisors. You will develop relationships with all sorts of people, other students, faculty members, staff members, who are here to support you in different ways. We listed a whole bunch of them here just as examples. You're going to have orientation leaders and a group when you come to campus during Discover Week. When you live in your dorms, there are RAs, others, upper class students you're going to get to meet. The many other staff in our Division of Student Affairs outside of undergraduate advising support. Under UAS is where your four-year advisor is, but the Career Center, undergraduate research, many of the identity groups. Maybe you're going to work with the Interreligious Council if that's important for you. Many different places for you to get mentorship there. And of course, the people you're going to see just about every day, the faculty, the professors of your classes, the classmates in your classes, TAs, graduate students. Then, of course, you'll get your major advisor. And then you have tons and tons of other activities and clubs and organizations that may well become an important part of your life here. And we certainly hope that they do. So look for mentorship. We didn't even put on here lab advisors, working, if you're working in a lab. Many of our students are going to do clinical activity, clinical internships in the neighboring hospitals. You're going to find mentors there as well. So look for them. They're there. We're here to help you. So one of the components of our general education system, without getting into too many details about it, is called the Explore program. This is for our first-year students, for you all. It's a requirement of the general education program, but it's not a set of courses. Most of the things you'll do for the general education structure are courses you have to take. These are about building experiences and encouraging you to go out and discover the many resources that are going to be available to you here as an undergraduate student. The structure is you have to do at least 6 events or programs in 3 different categories, with at least 1 in each of the 3 categories. Academic programs, these are put on by individual departments, programs, majors, minors, to showcase what the major or the minor is all about. Typically, they involve meeting faculty or current students, maybe graduate students, to learn about the curriculum. Sometimes they're as simple as, it's a lunch, you come and meet with, dine with the faculty and get to know them. Other times it may be the art history department taking you on a tour of the Cleveland Museum of Art, or the astronomy department taking you onto the roof of the building where they have a giant telescope to watch the stars in the middle of the night. So there are many other things that departments can do. The nutrition department bringing you into the amazing teaching kitchen to do programs in there. This is a chance for you to explore majors and programs that you might be interested in. But feel free to go to ones that even if you're pretty sure you're not going to major in it, you may find that getting to know them is helpful. It's interesting. Maybe you want to pick up a class here and there. Great to meet faculty and other students. The second category is university resources. These are put on by the many offices and departments across the university that offer opportunities to support you in your academic journey. Everything from the resources of Kelvin Smith Library on learning about research opportunities and how to use the many databases we have for research purposes, to study abroad programs. Maybe you're interested in doing a study abroad in your sophomore or junior years. That office is going to put on programs. Education Abroad will put on programs for you to learn about how to go about that process, how to think about and prepare for a study abroad program. The list is enormous. We've had hundreds of these programs over the course of the year, all different ways to support you on your journey here. And then the third category are the cultural institutions and student activities. These are, in the latter category, student groups that put on programs to help recruit and introduce new students to what the activity has to offer. And the cultural institutions are the many partnering organizations right next to us on campus in University Circle and in nearby parts of Cleveland, places like the Cleveland Museum of Art, Cleveland Museum of Natural History, Western Reserve Historical Society, Botanical Gardens and Holden Arboretum, Playhouse Square, the largest theater district in the United States outside of Broadway, and then many other programs that we put together in Cleveland and even outside of the city in kind of greater Northeast Ohio. We get you tickets to the Cleveland Orchestra at Severance Hall. We get you tickets to Cavs games. We get you tickets to Guardians games. We want to just get you out into the community and make you feel at home in this city that is going to be your home for the next several years. So we want you to sample those opportunities. There will be hundreds of events scheduled. They are nearly every day. They'll start on the first day of classes, and you'll find them on the Campus Groups platform, which you'll learn about when you get to campus. It's a big calendar for all sorts of activities and events and programs. You register, you show up, you check in to confirm that you're in attendance. You'll get the credit for it, and then you get to enjoy the program. Some of my favorites have involved lunch and going into lunch with a federal judge and going into the judge's quarters and getting to know him and what he does, and then watching a sentencing. That was one I actually went to because it was going to be really cool. We've done therapy dogs at Kelvin Smith Library. It's really great when you get these wonderful dogs that come in. I know a lot of you probably have pets. You're going to be sad to be away from them. And it's a great way to unwind at a stressful part of the semester. Students love going to Playhouse Square. They love going to Severance Hall. They love going to the Cavs games. Those are always super popular. And the academic programs are, across the board. You find what interests you and pursue it. You have to do, I just want to make sure I get this out for you while you're still here, at least 2 of these events within the first 6 weeks of your first semester. So it could be in that first week. Like I said, they're happening every day. It's not hard to find them. It's not hard to get to them. We want you to start to experience these as soon as possible. So at least 2 in those first 6 weeks, 2 more in your second 6 weeks, and then 2 more at the beginning of the first 6 weeks of your spring semester. And then you have 6. You can do more. You can do 7, you can do 10, you can do 20. We encourage you to make use of these because, again, we think you're going to get a lot out of them.
All right, thank you. The Explore event is very much, or Explore program with all of the events is very much a highlight, I would say, of the first year. So we're lucky to have something like that as you kind of build your community here in Cleveland. All right, so with that, we have come to the end of our session.